When a narcissist realizes that you have won, the first thing they experience is a profound shock of self-awareness, and it is not a quiet or gentle awakening. Narcissists live in a world carefully curated by their illusions of superiority and control. They believe that their charm, manipulation, or sheer willpower can bend reality to their favor, that the people around them are actors in the story they write. When you step out of that narrative, when you reclaim your power and refuse to play the role they expect, it is as if a mirror is suddenly held up to them, reflecting not the image they want to see, but the truth of their limitations. This realization hits them like cold water, shocking, disorienting, and deeply unsettling. Unlike others, a narcissist rarely acknowledges their own failings, and they are not accustomed to losing in any form. They measure success in terms of control, admiration, and the ability to bend others' emotions to their will. When they see that their influence over you has slipped, a sense of disbelief and confusion overtakes them. They struggle to reconcile this new reality with the narrative they have constructed about themselves and their relationships. They may replay past interactions in their mind, searching for the moment they lost control, analyzing every word, gesture, and reaction as if solving a puzzle that has no solution. This shock is magnified because narcissists are trained to avoid vulnerability at all costs. They hide insecurities behind arrogance, deflect blame, and project faults onto others. When confronted with the undeniable truth that you have outgrown their manipulations, their carefully maintained armor cracks. They may react unpredictably. Some lash out with anger, others attempt to regain control through charm or deception, and still others retreat into silence, nursing the sting of their unexpected defeat. In that moment, their world is shaken because it exposes what they have long denied, that their sense of power is fragile and conditional, dependent entirely on the compliance of others. Your victory, no matter how quiet or understated, becomes a mirror reflecting the reality they refuse to accept, and that reflection is impossible for them to ignore. When a narcissist realizes that you have won, the second thing they experience is a deep and disorienting sense of loss of control. Control is the foundation of a narcissist's world. It is the invisible thread that ties their self-worth, their sense of superiority, and their emotional stability together. They are accustomed to steering the narrative of every relationship, bending circumstances to suit their desires, and dictating how others should feel, act, and respond. When you step out of their orbit, when you no longer respond to their manipulations or allow them to dictate your emotions, their entire framework begins to crumble. The loss is not just about influence over you, it is existential, a threat to the carefully constructed identity they have worked so hard to maintain. This loss of control triggers a cascade of emotions, though they rarely admit to them consciously. Anger often surfaces first, sharp and immediate, because the narcissist interprets your independence not as a natural boundary, but as a personal affront. Anxiety follows closely as the certainty that once gave them comfort is replaced by unpredictability. They may obsessively analyze your actions, seeking patterns or missteps they can exploit to regain dominance. Every boundary you set becomes a challenge to their authority. Every refusal, a crack in their illusion of omnipotence. In this moment, the narcissist's sense of power is stripped bare, revealing a fragile core that depends entirely on the compliance and admiration of others to feel secure. The loss of control often provokes extreme attempts to reclaim it. sometimes through subtle tactics, other times through overt aggression or manipulation. They may attempt to rewrite history, guilt trip you, or deploy charm in exaggerated measures, hoping to coerce a return to the familiar dynamic. But the truth is, the moment you assert your autonomy, you dismantle the scaffolding of their influence. Their panic, though hidden behind a mask of composure or arrogance, is real and visceral. They are suddenly aware that the rules of engagement have changed, and no amount of strategy can guarantee a return to their former dominance. Your victory, therefore, is measured not by confrontation, but by the quiet, unshakable power of self-possession, a power the narcissist can neither control nor diminish. When a narcissist realizes that you have won, one of the most common and insidious responses is projection and blame. Narcissists rarely take responsibility for their actions, mistakes, or failures. Their sense of self is built on an intricate web of illusions in which they are always right, always justified, and always the center of control. When confronted with the fact that you have stepped out of their manipulation or refused to be controlled, their first instinct is to protect their ego. They do this by projecting their own faults onto you, creating a narrative where you are at fault while they remain blameless. Projection becomes a shield, a way to avoid facing the truth that they have lost influence and that their sense of superiority is threatened. This projection can manifest in many ways. They may accuse you of being selfish, ungrateful, or unreasonable, even though these traits are reflections of their own behavior. They twist events to fit a story where your independence or assertiveness becomes evidence of your wrongdoing. In their minds, if they can convince you, or even themselves, that you are at fault, they can preserve the illusion that they are still in control. Every act of blame is calculated, whether subtle or overt, designed to destabilize your confidence and keep you questioning yourself. They want you to feel guilt, doubt, or shame because these emotions are easier to manipulate than respect or indifference. At the same time, projection and blame are expressions of deep inner turmoil. Narcissists experience the loss of control as a threat to their identity, and their mind cannot process failure without externalizing it. The act of blaming you is as much about self-preservation as it is about manipulation. They attempt to rewrite reality so that the pain of defeat is softened or disguised. In extreme cases, this can escalate to verbal attacks, smear campaigns, or calculated attempts to turn others against you. The key to understanding this behavior is recognizing that projection is never about truth. It is a defense mechanism born of fear, insecurity, and a fragile ego. Your victory, your independence, and your refusal to accept responsibility for their misdeeds become a mirror showing them what they cannot face, their flaws, their vulnerability, and the fact that their influence over you has ended. When a narcissist realizes that you have won, one of the most common strategies they employ is false charm, often referred to as smokescreens. Narcissists are masters of manipulation, and when they sense that their control has slipped away, they may attempt to regain it through gestures that appear kind, flattering, or conciliatory. This charm is rarely genuine. It is calculated, a strategic effort to disarm you, confuse you, and lure you back into the dynamic they once controlled. They may offer apologies, gifts, or expressions of affection that seem heartfelt on the surface, but these actions are not intended to repair the relationship or acknowledge your autonomy. Instead, they are designed to create doubt in your mind, to make you question whether you might have misinterpreted their behavior, and to tempt you to lower your defenses. This false charm is often accompanied by an exaggerated attentiveness. They may suddenly become overly considerate, complimenting aspects of your personality or achievements in ways that feel unnaturally timed. They may recall shared memories or highlight positive experiences from the past, all strategically chosen to make you nostalgic, vulnerable, or sympathetic. The goal is to reestablish a connection where they can regain influence and ensure that their sense of control is restored. Every word, every gesture is a carefully constructed performance meant to obscure the truth of their prior manipulation and failure. Beneath the surface of these smokescreens lies a deep insecurity and panic. The narcissist is aware, even if subconsciously, that they have lost their dominance. Their ego, which thrives on admiration, control, and perceived superiority, feels threatened. The charm they display is a desperate attempt to reclaim that stability, to convince both themselves and you that the dynamic can return to what it once was. This approach often backfires when met with clarity and firm boundaries. Those who have recognized their patterns can see through the illusion, understanding that the sweetness is a mask hiding the same manipulative tendencies that caused the loss of control in the first place. Ultimately, false charm is a reflection of the narcissist's fear, a strategy born of desperation. It is not love, regret, or true affection, but a calculated attempt to manipulate emotions, reassert influence, and disguise their internal fracture. Recognizing it is the first step toward maintaining your freedom and peace, resisting the pull of their carefully crafted illusion. When a narcissist realizes that you have won, one of their most subtle yet persistent tactics is the use of manipulation, often in ways that are difficult to detect at first. Unlike overt charm or anger, these manipulations are designed to destabilize your sense of reality and make you question your own perceptions. Gaslighting is a common method where they twist facts, deny previous statements, or reinterpret events to make you doubt yourself. They may insist that you misunderstood something, claim that your memory is faulty, or suggest that your feelings are overblown or irrational. The goal is not necessarily to convince you of a false narrative immediately, but to gradually erode your confidence and make you more susceptible to influence. These manipulative tactics often increase when they sense that you are no longer under their control. They test boundaries carefully, sending subtle messages to see how you will respond, probing for weaknesses they can exploit. They may employ guilt as a weapon, framing their own failures or aggressive behaviors as consequences of your actions, implying that you are responsible for their discomfort or anger. In doing so, they attempt to reclaim psychological dominance without overt confrontation, hoping that you will revert to old patterns of accommodation and self-doubt. The use of manipulation also extends to social and emotional tactics. Narcissists may spread misleading information about you to others, seeking to turn allies against you or to create confusion that strengthens their position. They may compare themselves to you in a way that makes you question your worth, subtly suggesting that your success or independence is a threat to them rather than a triumph for yourself. Every interaction is a calculated test, designed to measure whether their influence can be reestablished and to gauge the limits of your autonomy. Underlying these tactics is an acute fear, the fear of irrelevance and exposure. The narcissist knows deep down that their power depends on your compliance, admiration, or emotional reaction. When you no longer provide it, they are forced to confront the fragility of their identity, which relies on controlling how others perceive and respond to them. Manipulation becomes both a shield and a weapon, a way to reclaim the illusion of power while masking the vulnerability they cannot openly face. Your victory lies in recognizing these patterns and refusing to engage, maintaining your boundaries and your clarity. When a narcissist realizes that you have won, one of the responses they often exhibit is silent fury, a simmering anger that is far more dangerous and unpredictable than overt confrontation. Unlike the loud, explosive reactions that can be anticipated and defended against, silent fury is subtle, cold, and calculated. It arises because the narcissist is faced with the undeniable truth that they no longer hold power over you, and yet they cannot openly admit their defeat without shattering the carefully maintained image of superiority they project to the world. This quiet anger manifests in ways that are indirect but deeply unsettling, often leaving you feeling a lingering tension without a clear source. Silent fury is frequently accompanied by withdrawal and passive-aggressive behaviors. The narcissist may suddenly distance themselves, refusing communication or attention, creating a vacuum that makes you question what went wrong. They may respond to messages with clipped, cold replies, deliberately ignoring social cues or opportunities to connect in order to exert subtle pressure. Every act of omission or indifference becomes a weapon, a silent message meant to provoke discomfort, doubt, or guilt. In this state, they are attempting to manipulate your emotions without engaging directly, using absence, silence, and inaction as tools of control. The intensity of this fury is amplified by their internal conflict. The narcissist is struggling to reconcile the loss of influence with their need to appear invulnerable and in command. They may feel shame, humiliation, or panic beneath the surface, but outwardly, they maintain an icy composure. This dichotomy can make their behavior unpredictable. One moment they may seem detached, the next they might launch a subtle attack designed to destabilize your confidence. What makes silent fury particularly potent is that it reflects the narcissist's internal fracture. They are acutely aware of the power you have reclaimed, and every quiet action is a reflection of their fear and frustration. Unlike open confrontation, it allows them to maintain a veneer of control while silently grappling with the reality of their defeat. Your victory, in turn, is measured by your ability to remain steady, recognize the undercurrent of anger, and refuse to react impulsively, preserving your peace while they remain trapped in the tension of their own unacknowledged emotions. When a narcissist realizes that you have won, one of the most profound reactions they experience is an internal fracture, a hidden vulnerability that they work desperately to conceal from the world. Narcissists build their entire identity around the illusion of perfection, control, and superiority. Every interaction, every word, and every action is carefully curated to reinforce the image of someone who is confident, powerful, and unassailable. When you break free from their influence, when you refuse to bend to their manipulations, that carefully constructed identity begins to crack. Internally, they feel exposed, powerless, and deeply insecure, even if outwardly they continue to display arrogance or composure. This internal fracture is often masked by overcompensation. A narcissist may become louder, more assertive, or even aggressive in an attempt to convince both themselves and others that nothing has changed. They might embellish achievements, flaunt their status, or project confidence to hide the truth of their inner disarray. Beneath these performances, however, lies a gnawing fear that their control is gone forever. and that their carefully maintained sense of self is dependent on the submission and admiration of others. The loss of this influence triggers anxiety, self-doubt, and confusion because the foundation upon which they have built their identity has been undermined. The internal fracture can also manifest as erratic behavior. Some narcissists may oscillate between charm, anger, withdrawal, and blame as they try to recalibrate the power dynamic. Others might retreat entirely, avoiding confrontation to prevent the exposure of their vulnerability. Regardless of the method, these behaviors reflect the struggle occurring within them, a battle between their ego, which demands dominance and recognition, and the reality of their loss, which threatens to shatter the illusion they cling to. Understanding this internal fracture reveals the truth behind their actions. Narcissists are not always confident, untouchable figures. Their sense of power is fragile, conditional, and easily disrupted by someone who refuses to play by their rules. Your victory is not just in their behavior toward you, but in the way you highlight the cracks they cannot hide, showing that true strength lies not in manipulation or control, but in self-awareness, integrity, and the courage to claim your own life. When a narcissist realizes that you have won, the ultimate outcome is your liberation, and it is this freedom that provokes their deepest unease. Narcissists thrive on the energy, attention, and emotional responses of others, using them as a mirror to validate their own self-worth. When you step away from their influence, when you refuse to engage in their manipulations or give them the reactions they crave, you reclaim a power that they can neither take nor diminish. Your victory is measured not by confrontation or loud defiance, but by the quiet, unwavering presence of your autonomy, your boundaries, and your inner peace. This is the moment when a narcissist sees that no strategy, no charm, and no attempt at coercion can alter the reality you have created for yourself. Your liberation forces the narcissist to confront a truth they avoid at all costs, that their influence is conditional and that they are not the omnipotent figure they present to the world. They may attempt to reassert control through subtle tactics, gaslighting, blame shifting, or manipulation. But when faced with someone who has firmly established self-respect and clarity, these efforts fail. Your independence becomes a mirror reflecting the fragility of their ego, and this reflection can provoke panic, anger, or disbelief. Unlike other victories that are temporary or externally validated, the liberation from a narcissist is enduring because it stems from an internal shift, a conscious choice to honor your own needs and your own worth. The impact of this liberation extends beyond your relationship with the narcissist. It transforms your sense of self, teaching you that peace and freedom are not rewards given by others, but rights you claim for yourself. It dissolves the cycle of fear, doubt, and emotional entanglement, replacing it with clarity, confidence, and resilience. While a narcissist may attempt to reclaim influence, the dynamic has fundamentally shifted. Your life is no longer a stage for their control. This victory is not marked by celebration or spectacle, but by an unshakable stillness, a quiet strength that comes from knowing who you are, what you value, and that no one can take that from you. Your liberation is the final testament to the truth. Freedom and peace are the greatest victories of all, and a narcissist's realization of your triumph only underscores the power you have reclaimed for yourself. The journey of realizing a narcissist has lost their grip is not one of vengeance or loud confrontation, but of quiet, steadfast empowerment. Each reaction they display, shock, loss of control, projection, false charm, manipulation, silent fury, internal fracture, is a reflection of their fragile ego and a mirror of the power they no longer possess over you. Your victory is measured not by their reactions, but by your unwavering boundaries, your clarity, and your commitment to your own peace. In stepping into your freedom, you illuminate the truth. Strength is found in self-respect, resilience, and the courage to claim your life fully. When a narcissist sees that you have won, they may rage, charm, or withdraw, but none of it can diminish what you have created for yourself. Your triumph lies in liberation, in the quiet confidence that comes from choosing yourself above manipulation, and in the unshakable understanding that your peace is yours alone, unborrowed, untouchable, and eternal.